Well, hey friends, it is the first day of spring on the homestead, and if you look outside, you won't really be able to tell. It is a whole whopping 40 degrees today, which sounds warm, but it is cloudy and gloomy. Oh, come on, spring. I have a feeling we're gonna go just from winter to summer. It's just gonna get really hot. But I'm gonna take you around with me today. We're gonna make some bread. I have got a mess in the kitchen that I need to clean up. The kids have been playing outside all morning, riding their bikes. They're bundled up in their jackets or, you know, lighter jackets, and they've been having fun. I need to do some stuff with the chicks, make some bread. So I thought I would just do a video and take you along with me on this first day of spring on the homestead. If you guys saw my last video of the brooder box set up for our chicks in the bathroom up here, well, that lasted for a whole week or two until they outgrew it. So we moved them down to the basement, and they need to go outside, but it's just a little too cold if the sun was out. But anyways, I had to go to IFA this morning and get some new chicken feed. So I'm gonna go down to the basement. I'm gonna show you the chick setup that I have right now. Here's our little thermometer thing. We have these two in the freezer because we've got two freezers down there, and we want to monitor the temperature of those. And then this is where the chicks are. So it's 60 degrees. And then I have the baby monitor, and I just can see them down there. You can see the heat lamp, and we just have the thermometer down there. So we're down in the basement. Sorry if the lighting's really bad, but I've got my empty bucket of chicken feed that I need to refill. And then I also got this hanging feeder. It's a little bit bigger than the one that they have. I have got a really small one, and they're bigger now. There's more of them, so they need a bigger one. And I'm having to refill that more than once a day because they eat through the whole thing since they're getting bigger. So I went ahead and I got this bigger one. It's a hanging one. As if it's gonna be on the ground, they're gonna totally get their bedding in there. So I'm gonna empty my bag here into this bucket. I love these Gamma lids. You can get them on Amazon or the feed store. I'll link them down below for you guys. Please tell me I'm not the only one that cannot get these tabs open. Oh my goodness, I literally just like, you're supposed to just be able to pull. Oh, look at that. Oh, I did it. Oh my goodness. That's like once in a lifetime thing there. A little fancy scooper. I just stole it out of the kids' bath. So we can do this without making a mess. So this is the setup we have for them down here. They're in there, all taped up. We did have them in front of the window here, but at night when the sun went down, the temperature dropped drastically. So we have them over here. Hi, ladies. Look how big they're getting. Okay, the lighting is really bad in here, but I have the heat lamp. I did just move it the other day because they don't need it to be so warm. Look at them, they're so cute. Hi, ladies. How's it going? Is your food gone? Yep, their food's gone. This was their old one, and they would eat through this in a day or less. So now we're gonna just hang this in here. Okay, I've got it hanging in there. It's a little off the ground. That should keep the wood chips out. Hi, ladies. Oh, they're so pretty. Come here, Sagey. Oh, this is the sweet one right here. She just loves me so much. She's an Australorp, and we had one with our first batch, and she was a sweetheart too. Yeah, that's a great height, and it'll hold a lot more feed. Then I can easily just scoop some in there instead of taking it out and trying to unscrew it and fill it back up. Let's go outside and check for eggs. The kids informed me that it is starting to sprinkle, and the sky just got really dark. I mean, this rain is great, but come on, I'm ready for warm weather and gardening. Hi, ladies. Did you lay us some eggs? We've got a couple eggs. Thank you, ladies. For those of you who contributed and those of you who didn't, please start laying. I just leave the unwashed eggs here in the basket on the counter and just wash them before I go to use them. It is raining and the kids are loving it outside. The reason why I like to grind my own flour fresh is because when you buy it at the store, I've noticed it has a bitter flavor. If you buy whole wheat flour from the store, the flour has already probably gone rancid from the oils in there. And if you're wondering like what the difference is between whole wheat flour, all-purpose flour, bread flour, well basically they grind wheat berries just like I did. And then what they do, they sift out everything. All of the bran, the fiber, all that nutrition. And so you're left with just the gluten and the starch and just, it makes for a nice lovely loaf, but you're not getting the nutrition. Then what they do is they add nutrition back in. They add synthetic vitamins in there, and you'll see it's enriched, bleached or unbleached, and brominated flour. And you basically don't really have much nutrition, and it's refined flour. Now bread flour has extra gluten. It's all-purpose flour. Oh, I'm cracking my egg in here. Okay, don't get shell. Oh, I just dropped a chunk of shell. Look at our tiny little silky egg. It is like half the size of a regular egg. So tiny and so cute. So bread flour is all-purpose flour with extra gluten added, and that's why bread flour is so nice for making breads, because it makes such nice loaves. But you're not getting the nutrition. And if you're gonna eat flour, if you're gonna eat gluten, if you can tolerate gluten, might as well have all the nutrients, right? And with it being freshly ground, they're all guaranteed to be there, because as the flour sits, it loses that nutrition, and the oils from the natural oils that are in the wheat bran and the wheat germ and all of that can oxidize and go rancid. So when I grind up my flour, and if I don't end up using all of it, I throw it in the freezer to help preserve that nutrition a little bit longer. But whenever I make bread, I always freshly grind it. Now, I do have to confess, I am not the best bread maker. If you saw my recent Instagram reel, I made some amazing spelt bread. Let me tell you, it was amazing. So I'm gonna try to replicate that amazingness with my wheat flour. Now, spelt is completely different than wheat. It's still in the wheat family, still has gluten, but it's a little bit different, and it's easier for me to digest. So I won't be eating this because I can only have long fermented wheat. But I found that if I add some flax seeds, ground flax seeds, it kind of helps it turn out a little bit nicer. Okay, so we're gonna turn this on, and we're going to start adding our flour till it's a nice dough. So how to tell if your dough gluten has developed, you're gonna do the window pane test. I don't know, can you see this? When I stretch it out, it should be paper thin without tearing. See how it's tearing? So it needs to go a little bit longer. I let it go about 5 more minutes, and we're gonna test it again. I'm just doing some oil in my hands because it is a pretty, you don't want a super dry dough. That is more what we're looking for. It's still tearing just a little bit. Okay, it's been kneading for like 20 minutes. So I'm gonna get my hands all oiled up, and I'm just using the Chosen Foods brand avocado oil spray. I don't use any non-stick cooking spray because it has soy in it and inflammatory oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever, so I don't buy stuff with that in there. If you're wondering what mixer I have the Bosch Universal, I think is what it is, the Bosch Universal Plus. And then my mill is the Wonder Mill. We bought it almost 14 years ago with our wedding money, and they have served me faithfully for the last 13 and a half years. Best investment ever. I remember calculating when we first got married, calculating out how much store-bought bread was compared to how much my homemade bread was gonna be. And we were like, it's gonna be 10 years before we pay off this equipment. But at the time, I was just looking at the cheapest bread, full of white flour, inflammatory oils, all that stuff, comparing it to buying wholesome ingredients. obviously, when you compare it like that, store-bought bread is dirt cheap compared to what you can make at home. But I was like, I just love making bread so much. My parents had a Bosch machine, and I was like, I just really want to get this. And I'm so glad we did, because I have made so much good, nutritious bread, and I have not found a good store-bought bread that comes close to homemade quality and taste-wise. This is organic. Everything in here, I believe, is organic. I'm not sure if the avocado oil is. But everything else is organic. The eggs are homegrown, and you just cannot beat this good nutrition. So I'm gonna spray the top just a little bit so it doesn't dry out. And we're gonna let this rise. I have a towel here that I'm just gonna wet with warm water. We live in a very dry climate, and I don't want the dough to dry out. And I find that covering it with a very damp, not very damp, slightly damp, warm cloth really helps keep it from drying out, and then spraying the oil on the top. So I'm gonna let this rise for, I don't know, like an hour or so, and then we're gonna shape it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna clean up this mess, and my battery's almost dead, so I'm gonna go charge it, so you don't have to watch me clean up the mess. I am going to put the rest of this into my bag here, and this is what I feed my sourdough starter. Just pull it out of the freezer, and I feed it. So I've got lots of wheat flour in here. This is not, again, what I make bread out of, but if I do make pizza dough or muffins or baked goods or anything like that, then I pull it out of the freezer, feed my sourdough starter, pull it out of the freezer, and keep all that good nutrition. So we're up here in the laundry room. Here are my herbs. I thought I would show you what's going on in our greenhouse, aka laundry room. These are my herbs that I planted several weeks ago. They're kind of drying out. I need to water them, and I also need to finish repotting them. Here's some of my tomatoes that popped up. Again, they need to be watered. And I am having so much trouble with germination this year. Sorry, the washer's going, so that's what you hear in the background. I replanted, I think, my jalapeno. Looks like some of them are coming up. My black cherries did not come up at all. And then I got to thinking, maybe I didn't even plant any in there. So I replanted some the other day. Some more in my Amish paste. I did have some come up. None of the San Marzanos came up. Actually, I think these ones here. So I did have some come up here. But, oh, look at that. It's coming up. Okay, so the rest of them didn't come up. I planted some more colored peppers. My banana peppers did not come up at all, so I replanted those. The packet I have is several years old, and they did pop up last year, but I'm thinking maybe they're just a little bit old. I don't know, but I need to water these. And then over here, I've got my sweet potatoes. Look at this. I've got my sweet potato slips coming up here. See, look at that. Oh my goodness. And there's even more coming up here. I added these potatoes sweet potatoes just recently, so there's nothing growing on there. I keep this moist in here, and I don't need to water it again, but I'm so excited about those sweet potato slips. And here are all my onions. I did not get a very good germination rate for my red onions, but these ones, they're kind of flopping over. I need to go through and give them a little haircut so they stand up a little bit straighter. All nicely trimmed. They're still flopping over a bit, but I did rotate the trays, so hopefully they'll start growing the other direction. So my dough has been rising for about an hour, and it's doubled nicely. And I've got one pan that I'm gonna do parchment paper in, because last time I made bread, it stuck really bad when I smeared it with coconut milk, because I used to use non-stick cooking spray, but I don't use that anymore. So I'm gonna experiment with one loaf. I don't really like parchment paper, but I kind of feel like I need some more options. The other one, I'm gonna take some coconut oil, and with a clean hand, I'm gonna remove some out. And I've done this before, and it worked great, but then the last batch I made, it stuck really bad. So I'm gonna really coat a lot of coconut oil in there in hopes that maybe it'll work. We'll see which works better, the parchment paper or the coconut oil. I do know that the avocado oil spray does not work. I've done that before and it's a mess. So got some nice coating on here. So this recipe does make 4 loaves, but I'm gonna make one of these loaves into hamburger buns. Look at that beautiful dough. You just punch it down, get rid of all of those air bubbles. It's a beautiful dough. Sorry, my head's chopped off, but I'm gonna spray my counter. I don't flour my work surface because I don't wanna add any more flour to the dough. So I just spray it with a little bit of oil. And like I said, this dough makes 4 loaves. So I'm just gonna divide it into 4. We're gonna just set this back in the bowl for now. Cover it so it doesn't dry out. And we're gonna shape our first loaf. I'm not the best shaper, but we're gonna kind of just fold it over like that, press it out. We're gonna get all those air bubbles out. And then I just tightly roll it, pinch the sides, kind of, you can see that, poke the edges in, and kind of fold them under a little bit. Okay, we got some ripping in the dough here, so I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Okay, so we got our first loaf in there. Now let's shape our second one. Husband, believe it or not, he used to make bread years ago. He folds it over again, but I feel like I have a hard time like flattening it out without ruining it. So I just fold it over the one time and then roll it. I'm gonna make some hamburger buns with this last one. I made them before, but I can't remember like how many I made. I don't know. You could get a scale, get them all even. But to make hamburger buns, I just kind of smooth them out, bring all the dough, excess dough to the back, pinch it closed, and then I roll it on the counter to make a ball, and then I just flatten it, and they will rise. So we're gonna flatten it and stick it over here on my parchment paper. So these have been rising for about 30 minutes. I've got my oven preheated to 350. Don't look at the bottom. It is very dirty. So we're gonna cook those for about 15 to 20 minutes. I know some people do egg wash on top. I don't have enough eggs to do that. The tops are not shiny, they're a little bit drier, but that's okay. They will soften up as they cool, and I put them in a bag. Now dinner time, and we have some beautiful, whoa, steam blast with some beautiful teriyaki chicken and rice to eat it with. You hungry?
Yeah.
Thanks for spending the day with us. I hope you guys enjoyed this video with seeing the chick update and watching us make bread. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye. Ah! Shocking. Love you. The Bosch Universal Plus